brute force. If it doesn't work, you're just not using enough. You're listening to SOFREP Radio, special operations military news, and straight talk with the guys in the community.
Hey, what's going on? This is Rad. I am the host of SOFREP Radio, and I am excited that you have tuned in today. So, before I introduce who my next guest is, which, again, I say this all the time, you already know because you clicked on the link, but I'm trying to make it a surprise. Okay, so before I say who she is, I want you guys to go check out the merch at sofrep.com. So go check out our merch store. I gotta always push that out there. I love to see all of the tags on the internet and share it on social media at SOFREP Mafia, hashtag SOFREP Mafia. If you get one of the shirts, tag us, we'll share it. Second, say it with me. If you're new to the program, you might not know this, but we have a book club, and that's sofrep.com/book-club. It'll be put up here on the screen because my man Callum will put that up there, SOFREP's book club. So make sure that you're checking out the book-com at sofrep.com. Okay, so we live in an interesting world where we get this thing called democracy through voting. Voting is very important, as you may seen in the media in Afghanistan or Iraq of the global war on terror. You have seen people come out of voting booths who never got the chance to vote in their entire life with a purple finger. Or you've seen people go during the days of early America and try to make their mark to vote because we have the right to vote in America. And so who I've brought on today is Angelica Kapsis, former Navy, and also creator of VotRite, which voting software done right. It's a very delicate world we live in, and I want to welcome you to the show, first off.
Thank you very much, Red. It's a pleasure being here. This is VotRite, which is voting software done absolutely right, and the difference is in our democracy, as much as we love democracy, we don't feel that we've carried out the process much. And frankly, we don't feel that our kids have learned to participate in a democracy. And that's something that I don't think that any of us have been exposed to or projected when we were growing up thinking about having our own kids. But it's a major change from anything that we were trained to do as kids. Yes? So now's the time when we grew up, our mother and father said, hey, your generation, our generation is the time for change. We're the ones that decide what's going to happen. And it's not a very big generation. It's really our age range, anywhere from around 55 under. We're looking at where we make the impact of tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? So the concept of what do we do to further the education way that is pleasing and accepted in this entirely new environment we see our kids growing up in, so that we can provide them an American democracy, which should be original, should be an original process that we understand very well. And what VotRite is doing is it's taking a lot of these changes, the things that they've seen that don't quite match up to what a democracy in America should look like, and we've looked for over a 15-year period, and we've built this software aligned with the current providers, the vendors, which by the way are all for, and we'll get to that in a minute, and we will create a software that is hack-proof and uncontested on both sides. This way, we simply vote for a president. We go through our day. Nobody's attacking one another. Nobody's screaming. We voted for a president because everybody knew how to inform themselves, including special needs eligible voters, which VotRite is running campaign. We pick our president. We're happy with it, and we go for 4 years with our commander-in-chief. And that's the way a democracy should be. So that's what our concept here is at VotRite. I'll get into more detail.
Okay, and I'll just say, if you could just keep a little closer to the monitor so we can hear you clearly. That's right there. Perfect. Yeah. I caught all that, and I just want to make sure that our listener listens and hears that. So, as my viewer knows, as people listen, we're real here, right? So these are the way that things happen. But what you mentioned on was that everybody deserves to go and vote, including people with special needs, people who are eligible, 100%.
We don't know.
Special needs. And as far as I heard, every single person I talked to says they're special needs.
In some way.
Yeah.
In some way. And we're the real out of the bunch. So how many American military guys went and said, probably have special needs? Are we a special needs organization? Yeah. No, we're not. But this is,
we do have special forces, special operations. I was in special ed. Okay. So, we're all kind of special around here. All right. Okay. So everybody needs access to voting. Mail-in ballots, I have no problem with. I'm not a part of the whole like, oh, they've been hacked or tampered with. Maybe 1 in a million. Okay, yeah, there's always 1 in a million of anything. However, that allows my mom, when she was, not doing well, but she was watching the news and wanting to make sure that her opinion mattered. We're like, where's the mail-in ballots, right? We didn't get them into the mail that last election cycle. What was it? The Biden-Trump voting, right, before she passed away. She wanted to make sure her vote mattered. So what did I do? Loaded mom up in the wheelchair, hauled her up the stairs, got her out of the stairs, into the car, okay, out of the wheelchair, back into the car, put the wheelchair away in the car, which is not the easiest thing. And I'm 6'5", and I can handle big things. And then we drive her to the county election office here in Salt Lake, Utah. And then, again, I repeat everything else. Get my mom out of the car, and then we wheel her in, and yeah, right. And then they're like, okay, here, fill this out. Make sure that you go, here's your ballot, right? And you go and slide it into the electronic machine.
Yes.
She was so happy to put, I voted.
I know. I love that. It's perfect generation.
100%, right? And that's what's been instilled in me is I would take my dad. When he was younger, we'd go vote, and I'd go with him in the car. And then afterwards, I'd be like, who'd you vote for? He's like, I don't have to tell you that. And I was like, but you're my dad. Like, you're a Green Beret. You're supposed to tell me whatever. I'm like, Dad.
The genius actually is teaching us the protocol.
But he said to me, he's like, the first thing I want to tell you right now is that as an American, your right to not disclose who you vote for is precious, and you don't have to sit there and brag about it and like boast about it and say, my guy, any of that. It's like completely opposite right now. I see flag trains driving down my city streets, and they're like trying to blow horns for a certain candidate, and I'm just like, how come we lost that decorum of voting and the preciousness of our democracy and turned it into this like Crips versus blood? Let's look at your sign behind you. It's red and blue.
That's right. That's right. And we are for the globe. But red, white, and blue are our
100%.
colors, right? It's instilled in us, and it makes you motivated to wake up every morning, just like your flag behind you. Mine's somewhere all around my house, too. I have it hidden everywhere. Exposed to under my bed, or wherever.
Right here. It's right here. My flag is right here.
So I love the points you brought up, and I really like to remark on them because those were the ideas that brought about the VotRite concept. So as you were saying with mom, you were taking mom. I was in a wheelchair, leaving the Navy. I was in a wheelchair for a year. I had 4 stump legs. It took a really long time for me to walk again. And of course, we still had our democracy. So I lived through the experience you're describing. Less a man to help me. I mean, I did so many pull-ups in a wheelchair that I was actually throwing my own wheelchair and standing into the truck and pulling, like I was
right.
The things that we do with our brain.
Especially if you don't have somebody to help you, a facilitator, somebody like her strong boy. Yes. Come here, let's go, boy. Come on, my strong boy, put me in the car.
Yes. And what if you served your country and held that ultimate sacrifice? Who's there if I'm not in Utah?
And mom wants to still vote. It's like how, and the mail didn't show up with the mail-in ballots. It was like, where are the ballots? Every day she wait. Can you check my mail? Can you check my mail? And I'm like, you know what, mom? Nick's in the mail. We are going to the county court. You're going to go vote in person. And that made her day anyways, going outside.
Good. Yes. So the electronic model is actually the preferred model by many, by all the disability advocate groups. When they were considering mail-in ballots, I never had a problem using hybrid methods, right? So if we did a mail-in option and we did the electronic, whether or not we do mobile voting or we do the in-person systems, we are providing that access that we're all talking about, because America seems to be prioritizing today accommodations, right? That's what led me to the special needs field, the uniquely able, we like to call it. We want to put a new spin on that. Because the software and other people's software, the competitors that you see, they don't quite have disability accommodations the way that they're all pitched. I mean, for the amount of time that I've heard that I have to accommodate anybody, whether it be rat across from me in a special way, not the girl in the wheelchair. I'm in the wheelchair rolling up, providing military bailies for around me. So it put my mindset into that. Well, okay, let me accommodate 100%. I'll take the load on my time, and then I will be the manager, the provider. And I did this in a little pilot program in special needs. I was a guidance counselor manager for over 128 people at Cerebral Palsy Association, and that's where I began implementing this idea. What do these guys need to vote so that we can take this population, special, whatever they are, whether they're uniquely abled or they just need a kick in the bun, that's fine. So we trained them the way that I was trained for the United States Navy and special operations. And the way Jim Kapsis, our CEO, and my father, who invented VotRite, also trained me, which was the most significant impact these people have seen in New York State in an immense amount of years. And what we did with this pilot program was we took about a dozen, maybe a little bit more. We trained them for approximately 2.5 years intently, based off me as a behaviorist, military training. How did I get out of a wheelchair? How do I vote? What does the software provide? And what we're going to add to it? Then I taught these kids because, well, they're adults, but we'll say, kids 6 to 75 years old, right? So if they didn't have the capacity to speak and understand information, how could they make informed choice? So we had to actually spend 6 months teaching language, speech. And these are eligible voters today that voted for whoever mommy, daddy, or the friend said that day, right? And that's how people learn to vote. But I think that's where you were describing that there's been this huge change in how we see a democracy and how our kids are raised and what they're thinking about compared to what our parents did to us, right? Much different. I mean, I'm Greek, so they call it a kutala, or they put pepper in the mouth and they're chasing me around with a big spoon called a kutala. I'm not making the same mistakes that I see all these guys making in these new isolated special needs programs, right? When I trained this group, this population, after training these little bits, which were sort of this idea that they couldn't do, that they always needed help, so they didn't try, they didn't initiate the thought, but they could vote, they could drink alcohol, they could drive the car, they could have intimate relations.
Probably even buy a
Okay,
gun,
they could
right?
buy a
Like,
gun
who
if
says
they.
that you know?
No, I actually read this one because I got my concealed carry. If they did not take medication for a certain period of time, or they were not institutionalized for it, they might bypass it because the checkbox is up to interpretation. I told
Exactly.
us, and he's like,
Hello.
so
I mean, like,
yeah,
okay, I'm not gonna get into does everybody need a
yeah,
gun
you're speaking the
concept?
same information I was. Mind
Yes,
blown, right? So
but if
let's get back
everybody
here
can have a
to
gun,
the
everybody
concept.
can vote.
And have a relationship and have marriage.
Correct.
And do you know that they were asking me to become live at home nannies for these cerebral palsy couples that wanted to have children? Now, I will never say anything past because I love them. They're like my closest family. They're the only friends in my contact list. But this is the information that they were given from the layperson, right? People that maybe weren't doing these other focused jobs, learning different ideas, right? Or military, having to learn 51 states of different people that are not New Yorkers that are going to put us in our place, right? To accommodate them differently. So having that exposure has given me this invaluable capability. And after I taught them the speech and the fitness, all of a sudden I taught them the voting system. And even some of them was quadriplegic. We did a sip and puff. They have a little straw. They have a dot in their head, and they move to it. You could see a little example. One of them voted for their chair, a color. She doesn't even speak, and she was able to make her choice. That's cool, right? The other ones, because they were able to speak and they feel fit, they weren't intolerant, there were no outbursts, and they were voting on the unit without me saying anything. So easy, like on the phone playing a game. I love that, and that's it. Now that population's part of us,
Right.
you
And
know?
acceptance of another human being to be able to do some things that they might not physically be able to grab something like we can, but they can mentally understand everything going down. And it's like,
Yes,
just because somebody's
yes,
trapped in a body doesn't mean that they're trapped yeah, it
that's
doesn't
what it
mean that
is.
they're trapped up here, and they still have every right to go out and vote. And, there are people who have been in combat who have had TBIs who, are in a wheelchair that should still be able to get out and vote. It's not just born
Yes,
with special needs. It's people who have special needs. End of story. Okay. It's like from the
yes.
entire,
And it isn't like a
no,
scary thing. It isn't like this, oh, VotRite's a special needs software. Absolutely not. It is to make sure that any of us, my friend, he was going to special forces, he wanted it so bad he was jumping through 3 different branches. He crashed his motorcycle and smashed his face and lost his eyesight. I created the visual impaired ballot for him, and he chose off a menu, and he was telling me what speed works because he's a monster that was trained to be a Green Beret eventually, right? So his brain is like, every speed is too slow, make it impossible. So to me, it's going blah, 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 and he's going, oh yeah, and he's navigating through the whole thing. So we had it custom ordered to every guy that is special needs, but not really, right? Because of this pilot program, we've learned what do we really regard as special needs? Somebody that we've isolated and taught a couple things to in passing. We did a good job by them, you know? So when we're considering an American democracy and voting for the president of the United States or the Senate or the judge that's going to keep you and your kids out of prison, you want to make sure that those people are informed enough of people like us, people of special needs, people with exposure, people that grew up a little tough, had to get rocked and then they became normal. All those things are very real. And if you looked at them too closely, they don't sound good. They don't sound like the eligible voter, and they don't sound like the person you want to train to become something real, right? Whether or not it's your elected official or a voter itself. So this pilot program, this 10 years of studying and revamping our software, cleared a lot of these sort of concerns, right? These considerations. Well, what's going to go wrong? Nothing with VotRite. You have 3 different times you can check your work. You're going to look at a printed document that is 100% accurate with all your choices, as the online screen is, which is much different from what you guys were doing with Mom, right? Where you fill out your paper, you scan it, and it goes ping, or it shows you a red or green line. You don't know if it read the multiple choice right.
Right.
Do you know how many times I fought with repeated multiple choice tests? I was right. How do we know if we don't have our document with us at the end, right? So that's the concept, right? And then we get more into it. There's more to it. But the point of the special needs was, how do we clear that so it becomes a non-event? So they're only integrated as eligible voters or ineligible. And that's within the software. And online, you can see a demo. And I'm going to put some more on there. We're going to put a new commercial with sort of like an intro so you can look into it. And you'll see on our main screen, it offers a vision impaired ballot, which we made for our boy Adriel, which will allow the ballot to narrate to you. It'll talk to you at any speed you want. Or you go through a regular ballot, and then you have a choice for a secret ballot if you're a person who has neurological impairments, things of that nature, where you'll click the top right for ballot settings. You could double space, you could change the background, you could change the font, you can do a lot of cool things. This way you just feel comfortable and you get through your ballot on your own. And then on top of that, what happened in the disability advocate groups when they came around, they voted VotRite #1 in popularity. They told us at the end, they didn't need, I actually customized it based off what they ordered. And then they said, this is great, but really I only need a stylus long. One of those things that you, so we built this beautiful system, and one of the most disabled, we had a quadriplegic that wasn't even fully grown. And she goes, just give me the stylus. She starts voting like it's the easiest thing in the world. She goes, or I could just have my friend do it, a supportive person. So the reality is we have to start listening to the public. We don't need to get caught up on so many changes and amendments. We just have to codify the knowledge so Utah matches New York when I come to bring the software there. And we have to get ourselves to a population that are just voters. And we have to make sure that we're informed to vote and vote right with what it gains from business and transactions. Right now, we're selling shares and we're making it, I love to explain this to you. We're making a transparent company owned by, obviously Americans, American idea, while still validating any sort of input internationally, because that's what Americans do. But, bottom line is, we're going to allow VotRite to be transparent by allowing it to be voter owned, by selling shares, by selling an opportunity for people to invest in VotRite and own a little piece of it, which is mega different from what's going on now. And after they do that, because of such transparency built through the software and such time taken through our team and us, researching, asking what exactly you guys want to make it easy, it's going to be the most seamless, trustworthy process in American democracy that exists. That's how much care has gone into it. It's really exciting.
And I just hear so much passion coming out of you, and there's just so much more that you have to say, and you're trying to I just think every lane you're going down, you just have this direction of just trying to be successful for others and helping them be able to attain the goal of just being an everyday citizen in the U.S., being able to have the same ability to vote. Right? That's really. Yeah.
Be comfortable. Why are we still talking about 13 years worth of a president when we didn't even do anything with the president, because we've been fighting with the president, and then the president changed political parties and we're fighting over the president, and then it changed back and we're fighting.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What do you think about okay, so let me just make sure that I understand. Is this going to be something that can be integrated for current elections coming up, and and your VotRite has been approved by the Department of
Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, which right now only approved approximately 4 vendors. Most of them started out foreigners, and then they came here and they got supported. I think it was Canada, Cuba, things of that nature, things all around, which is usually fine. We have a relationship with anybody in the world, and we don't mind building software with anybody of certain skill sets. But when you start using angel investors that don't come from an American democracy, sometimes their expectation and demand differs significantly from what an American product would provide, right? Because mostly foreign countries didn't grow up studying the impact of whether or not a democracy would matter, right? They were studying the impact against their own democracy, their own government structure, pardon me, like communism, socialism, things of that nature, and what to do as a kid when faced with adversity, unfortunately, when it shouldn't feel that way, right? But if those guys are supporting the money, the value, which is what we're looking for right now, it's the only piece that we're not prepared for yet, then they're going to ask for different things. They're going to ask to generate numbers, and it becomes more of a business game. And what we're looking to do at VotRite is, of course, business is obviously paramount, but from Angelica's perspective, business has to be maintained in a different way than our free market has led us, with the opportunity to invite our friends into it. And I hope that's understood. I'm not sure how to explain that differently at this time, but I think that it would be more prudent and more valuable to the American citizens to consider imploring and hiring American-based companies, even if they don't quite hit that mark of generating hundreds of millions or billions. At the time you're asking for money, because they have invested so much time and so much detail into allowing a process to remain sustained without any intervention or resource expended. And that is, I think, the most important concept we should be considering today, because anybody clearly can make money. The grilled cheese truck guy, or the other voting technologies, or what was the other one? AI tech, right? AI and something else is up and coming. Marketing modeling. You know, you're making 100 grand, you're making 8 million off one commercial. Did you actually invest a lot of time learning what the impact of what your commercial's done to the grid? What are you doing with the money, right? So I think it's more important that we're considering companies in America that can grow, that also considered, okay, well, you're going to grow in this direction, free market, and whatever it's going to be, it's going to give you a certain value, right? That's what the company's worth, because you're going to hit 51 states. And if you don't go international, you're going to make that value. Obviously, it's, and it's recurring. You're never going to lose value because you have to vote. You have to follow for compliance, and you want to vote in democracy. But what's happening with the excess? What's happening with these companies that are holding so much money, like some of our competitors? I think one of the competitors, they just had an issue with Fox, right? And they settled at 1.3 billion. Is that saying something like that? Or 780, 100 million they took home. So that's nice.
And they've got multiple lawsuits going right now, with other.
And they got so many lawsuits, but those are the guys. By the way, he's a Greek. I might have been confused. I'm just kidding. I was like, it's a misidentification. No. He's a Greek Canadian, and he works with Serbians, and he built the voting system that you guys are utilizing quite frequently with another 2 or 3 vendors. And even after the issue with the hacking and the issue, we were doing some testifying, and they were getting questioned about what's going on. After they got questioned because not one tech support showed up on vote night from that person, the vendor, how could that be? They had an issue and they answered the phone and didn't show up on election night, because I'm thinking they are an outside of the United States entity and they were considering money. And that's a huge difference, because when you see it in real time what the impact was, oh my God, right? Because nobody thinks that way. You go, oh, well, this business is lucrative. We're going to invest. It's going to blow up and be great. But at times,
the current president has a daughter who patented, trademarked in China voting systems. I'm just kind of like, what are you getting your hands into? What are you trying to patent and get these trades from China, and then sitting there bashing China, and then now you're wanting patents and trades from China, and you get them honored, and now you have them, but then you go back and make fun of China, but yet you have these voting patents. Why? Why are you vote? What elections are going on in China? First of all, second, what are they going to be?
That an American could
right.
facilitate,
So that's like you're saying, if somebody's coming from Canada, Cuba, and they're helping Americans and they got no problem, maybe they're naturalized and they want to be a part of it, or whatever the case is, why is somebody outside of the U.S., per se, affecting any type of voting for the U.S.? And I know that I'm not talking about actors out there that are trying to get into our election site. That's a bigger deal. What I'm trying to do is I'm just saying and that also leads me to think right now, you're secure, right? Because there are actors out there that are looking to do bad things, like cut the cable on the bottom of the ocean floor, so, those actors out there, they may want to just want to spring dive with their hacker team right into your.
Well, that's what was going on. I was getting hacked by, my name was being misidentified for somebody else, and they were getting our our contracts in a very weird way. And then I found out that it was, I don't want to say the third world, but I do, only because I sort of I feel attacked. I feel degraded. When I built this system, I built it with people that we were allied with like 15, 20 years ago, before we did this huge renovation for the disability settings. And I didn't take pay. I was working under my father's shadow and working other jobs so that these people who were in developing countries that we're supposed to be allied with could have full paychecks, and then they could have an opportunity to come here and live with dual citizenship, and we were going to put them up and we were going to make their life perfect. Now, what happened, I'm not sure in terms of, how to generate enough revenue to sustain what we'd like to. But then I found out that through the course of a few years, it was sort of being created, this idea, maybe through our competitors, maybe through other things, that I was not doing the right thing by those developing countries. But I did not take one paycheck. I don't actually have much showing for me in sort of history because I've been working 6 collateral jobs to provide for them. So when that sort of insinuation occurs and people go, oh, well, I got you hacked because I thought that you were a different Angelica Kapsis, that I thought of, in my mind, whatever it might be, working remotely, surrounded by whatever influence. You stop and you think, all right, well, that's a 15-year investment that I made kind of voluntarily, and I'm ready to proceed and I'm ready to go. But we really have to consider what other people are thinking if they're not informed accurately. And how do we do so? How do we validate these sorts of things so that people don't compromise things based off misinformation? And that's one of the biggest things that we'll contend with internally today. And I think that everybody should sort of be informed of and aware of in their own business ventures and our democracy, right? Because if a person that was entrusted to that degree could simply change their mind based off misinformation and then go at it, they have the capacity, right? If they're a code writer, if they're whatever security, have tactical knowledge, and they just sort of do things without, making sure that they confirm it. Well, that changes a lot. That changes a lot of how we might strategize and what we can provide, right? So now every website that I've put up in the past 6 months have been hacked by, I think, Indonesia or, a couple other things, Asia, whatever it might. And I don't know why, because I've been so invested. SOFREP, I don't mind. I've been reading forever, and I kind of feel like, when you're reading and you start to get the gist of their lingo, you're going, all right, cool, this could be like my acquaintance, So outwardly, I'll tell you what those concerns are, but VotRite's going to be filthy. The idea is, what parts are the most important to inform a democracy at this time when you're the president of a company? Focus so intently on doing these right things, considering what people would deem bad actors when they're learning about their right firsthand, or computer hackers and these good guys, these bad guys, the needy, the poor, what really is that way, right? Like with these disability settings. And they didn't need it. They go, everything in the law is cool, whatever it might be, but I want to choose on my own. It's not exactly the way it is. Well, I totally agree. That's what a democracy is about. So when VotRite receives adequate funding, and we were finished getting hacked for fun on our websites, which has nothing to do with our product, we're going to be using that excess that we generate, because this is a very lucrative field. I think it's $1 billion industry, and we're increasing because people are considering mobile voting, which I'd like to discuss with you briefly after this. We're going to be using the excess to allow for these opportunities to inform people that might one day assist the United States in whatever capacity, kind of like they assisted VotRite from other countries, or they came here and they assisted whoever it might be from this 25-year period. We need to learn how to inform them. So we have to get on the ground, and we have to do a little bit of additional work throughout the year to train people to feel prepared to start voting at time of election cycle. So what we're currently working on is we're considering this mobile voting pitch because of people like your mother, which I'd love to talk about a little bit more. And we're considering where we're going to put the funds immediately. It's EAC certification, Election Assistance Commission, just so that we are a verified voter for the Board of Elections in any state without their worry. But not everybody requires that. We're ready to go immediately. But that's what that 800,000 million to certification is, with like an 8-month, 9-month period. It's not necessary for our election cycle, but it is necessary to acquire enough states, right? But we do want to share. I believe in neutrality all the time. So I'm not looking to swipe anybody. I'm looking to take that win, take the excess, and start informing the public in little programs, whether or not we're at the universities, colleges, in the military. And we're going to teach them how to make informed choice the way our mother and father taught, so that there's no misinformation leading us to anything other than success. Yes? And then obviously I want to talk to you about mobile voting.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And to implement this, so let me grasp this, all right, as like someone who's just trying to put this together. So mobile app gets approved by the Voting Election Commission to be used.
In person electronic system gets approved by EAC.
So this is still in person. It's not going to be able to like just.
So it's actually a software app, but they're going to run the in-person system as it's housed to ensure that it meets compliance and it works and it's not hackable and it's wherever it might be. That software application has a written code that is uploaded into an app that we can download or a mobile browser, but it's separate entities. It can't hack one and lead to the other. We just need certification that says our company is fit and can be utilized by the Board of Elections in any state or municipality. And then after that, we can push out. But the mobile voting is actually offered anywhere because I don't think enough laws were generated yet to exclude or include. But it's a matter of, I think Tusk Philanthropies right now is pushing out a bunch of pilots. They did about 8 years ago, something that I was considering too, which is with, I think, 8 different states, 6 different states. They ran mobile voting during our election cycle of in person while everybody was freaking out about the hacked mobile. And they did it successfully. And I think all our military had an opportunity to vote, some of it that way. And that was the plan. That's a perfect plan, instead of worrying about paper, ballot stuffing, bullies, mafias, whatever you're thinking about, right? You just open up your phone, you're doing a thinking, and you vote, and you're done. And it's trustworthy for your bank checks and your paycheck and your taxes. So it's clearly okay. There's just some sort of hiccup, and we're not sure if it's competition based or acting based or reality, right? So we're figuring that out. But the mobile voting might be the future for everybody, and then the in person to perform, these presidential opportunities. Anybody that wants to do it that way. Okay.
So if mom was in bed and she was still incapacitated to get up and have to get in the wheelchair and all that kind of stuff, would she be able to, what I'm trying to get is, how does mom use this, right? How would, the Angelica in the chair use this per se? Like how's the better, how do we get this implemented to that step where it's on the phone, right? This is going to be on the phone. You'll be able to
it's so cool. All we need is an opportunity to work with any agency that's willing for us to do an initial pilot and then discuss an opportunity for, for what we're doing. But I don't know if can you see this here is a little weird. It might be weird.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it says choose active ballot, union election officers and delegates, board of directors, election members. So it makes sense.
That's our mobile voting.
Yeah.
So easy. So you lay in your bed and mom goes, I'm ready to vote. I'm sick of the paper. And she just pushes in the button. And then depending on what everybody's okay with, she'll input a phone number or she'll input a number, like a randomly pin code, one-time use. And she's done. Like you voted for the Masked Singer. All done. And we get the results immediately in real time.
Why can't we just vote like the Masked Singer or Love Island? All right, America, it's time to get your phones out and vote. I'm Ian. No, I'm not. I'm Rad, and I'm the narrator. What's going on? You got a text. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Bro.
Yeah. From VotRite, preferably. That's it. So that's a scoop. I might have written a book with you in an hour, but that's the gist. And we're ready to roll. And if anybody's interested in owning a part of a really cool, transparent voting technology company, they should reach out. They can reach out to my first initial last name, A. Kapsis, at VotRite, VOTRITE.com, or info@VotRite. If you want to reach the CEO, it's a J in front instead of an A. You want to be cool like that?
Now, listen, Kapsis. We just talked about VotRite. We kind of went backwards on my show. I usually like to learn a little bit about the person and then say, how did you wind up in this life? But I'm cool with just diving in, to VotRite. But, when you're like A. Kapsis, you're like A. Kapsis, or you could put a J in front of it. It's like, all right, yes, ma'am.
People are like,
tell me the Navy here. Tell me the Navy life that you did. Yeah, tell me your Navy style. Like, what did you do? How old were you when you went in the Navy? Why did you go in the Navy? What did you do in the Navy? And then how long did you and then you got into this? Tell us a little bit about it. Break it down.
Yeah, so I joined the Navy because I was a firefighter, and my friend was a medic, this Polish-German guy, and he really wanted to be the medic for the president. And I was sort of this hard charger floating around. I wanted to be a doctor, and I was going to create this humanitarian mission overseas, and I just needed some protocols. So obviously I was, playing the field, learning firefighting, first response. And I'm like, all right, well, I got a couple of years before I'm going to go do what I'm going to do next. And he goes, I'll get promoted immediately, and I'll work with the president if you join with me. boom, I'm in the Navy in 2012. And I wanted to go, I wanted to be an officer, but I wanted to gain empathy with my troops. It was like this black and white to me. I wasn't informed of anything military, didn't know better, you know? So I said, I have to go enlisted. I don't care, you know, whether I'm eligible or not. I have to go with what's up, and then I'll laterally transfer to an officer. And I want to be special operations. I want to be bomb disposal, but my parents, you know, are like, they're going to put you on the front lines. That's the person you are. And you're going to die. So you're going to go to college first, or you're going to die before that. So I went to college, right? And then I was like, I'm still going. And that's when I went. And I went in as an air rescue swimmer. I was a bunch of contracts. I was studying to do this for a long time, delayed entry program. And then I ended up becoming a CB because they promised me war. And air rescue is, you know, the Coast Guard gets war and we get video games, which I'm not really great at. And so, so they weren't honest about that because I didn't go to war. I volunteered 4 times and I did not, but I did serve about 4 years, and I was training so hard that my legs gave out, and I had this injury that's so blurry to me that I couldn't even explain what happened. But basically they said that it acted like a crushing injury. It wasn't a bomb blast, but it was like that. And it gave me compartment syndrome in my lower legs, and it gave me this like inverted neck curve and all this stuff going on. So I was walking with Forrest Gump legs, and I was in a wheelchair because nobody believed it. You know how it is. They're going to change your socks and shut up. So I changed the socks and nothing happened, you know? So I'm trying to figure out what to do. And they delayed my treatment. So because of the limb due protocols, it's called limited duty for anybody that doesn't know. They allow you a certain amount of time to heal. And it doesn't matter what they find out. If they, you know, they fudged it, it's that amount of time and you're out. So that was how my career ended, unfortunately. But it was okay. It was a great experience. And I didn't know all the I'm weird, okay? I didn't study. I didn't even study the models going into air rescue. I was so bent out of shape when they started saying so others may live. I quit. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to jump out of the helo. I'm going to go back and have dinner. You know, like, I don't know. We talk so others may live. So anyway, so, you know, you find your niche by learning. And I was a little silly and I didn't
That
study.
others may
You know,
live is totally pararescue, dude. You're totally dogging.
it was so others may live for air rescue on the back of on a quote. And I'm going, what are you talking about? You know, like,
Well, you know the dude I work for, Brandon Webb of SOFREP.com. He was air rescue in his very
yeah.
beginning of the career, or he was a rescue swimmer.
Wasn't
He was, yeah, but he was a rescue swimmer first, and then he went SEAL team.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
smart.
mean, like, you know, I look at him all the time, and he's like, "Yeah, I just went to the pool this morning." I'm like, "I bet you did, bro. I really bet you just have to like."
I know. We become
Yeah,
weird
you know,
that way.
like
I
it's
know.
like he's like in New York. He's like, "Yeah, I just went to the pool at the place in New York," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like what pool's in New York City, really? You know, it's in some bill. It's like the New York gym,
It's
the
so
New York
funny.
the health club or whatever he goes to." But you know,
Yeah.
rescue swimming. I just want to say, wow, you're you know, clapping for you, okay, hardcore. And I'm so sorry that your legs had any type of issues with that situation that happened, because I mean.
Yeah, it would have been
You
cool.
know, my wife's a really good swimmer. I am a good swimmer as long as I'm doing like the strokes. I can keep swimming, but once I get tired, it's like, how do I get this buoyancy to like just float?
Yes.
And I'm learning about like oxygen with your legs when you're in the water, and like bubbles, and like if you kick down, you're gonna drop. If you don't swim like a frog, you're gonna sink. And if you don't use your arms,
I did the doggy paddle to get through until my mentor, Seal, was like, I'm going to crush your soul if you do
I'm
this.
gonna crush your soul if you doggy paddle, you know? And we go to the gym with my kids to swim, and we do like maybe 20 to 30 laps in an hour. And I know that's almost a mile. A lap is 35. 35 laps. Yeah, but we're just like kind of just gracefully moving through the water. And there's nothing like that. There's nothing like being surrounded by that element. It's like we're in the mothership in a pool. It's like, oh, we're being like rehealed.
What are we, 80% water? You might be
Healed.
right.
You know, it's like a healing property. You know,
Yes.
I can't help but say I'm being
Yes.
hugged by water. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I
And
totally
for
agree.
you to go into the depths of the night sea if somebody went overboard, and
Alaska. That's what I was trying for. My favorite. You ever seen The Guardian?
well, Alaska is a huge recovery area. Like they're constantly doing
Yeah.
rescue.
And I needed ice baths to survive every workout, so I was like, I'm a genius, you know?
You know, I go boxing every day, just about every day, and I still cannot get into an ice bath and like it. It is just so cold.
You need to live through a certain level of torture. I know it sounds weird, but and then you love
I
it.
need someone to say, I'm going to crush your soul if you doggy paddle again. And I'll be like, I'll take an ice bath, no problem.
Love the ice bath, yeah.
So when you were in the Navy, did you commission as an officer, or did you stay enlisted?
I didn't. I stayed enlisted because I was really into the special operations ideas. And when I ended up a CV, I kind of got like stuck in this hold. I kept trying to go to EOD, and they were like, nah, when you become of worth someplace that nobody informed you that, then you stay there, right? Or if you're like in between, you don't know where your injuries are coming from, then you got to figure that out, right? Or you're not quite part. So then they don't prioritize your requests, that type of thing. So, next time and in the future, I've always had this disposition and perception, even after my personal experience, which is very odd. It's not typical, but I still think that it's a wonderful idea to enlist in the military. And if you do want to be an officer, I still think it's a perfect idea to enlist and then become an officer. I think that is the make or break of how our military might do strategically. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a good experience. And I had no idea what I was telling you. I had no idea that they give you incentives if you get injured or school. I mean, like I'm that type of weirdo, I was like, war, yeah. So then I got out and they were like, oh,
War, yeah, right. And you deserve to have gone there. I am just sorry that you didn't get a chance to to hurt locker the place.
I know.
You know.
I probably wouldn't have even. Everybody, they're like, you're gonna be on the front lines. No, I'm gonna be the guy holding your hand, making you comfortable. And like, nobody's gonna put me in the spot.
It's almost like you're like, what part of war don't you understand? I'm willing to go
That's
to.
exactly what I was like. So when we deployed to Spain, and they had like a sheet of paper, and all those guys are war vets. So you see them like, and then it's only me on the page. that perfectly depicts how my tour went.
That's awesome. So do you still? Okay, so let's talk about your legs. How you doing today?
I'm okay. I can't really run to save my life, but I worked on the fundamentals so hard that I can sprint, and then I become the wobbly mess that I am. But it's good. It looks good in the beginning. And the best part, it was a blessing to go into special needs because it's not something I studied. It's actually something I deterred from. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist and then own like a Doctors Without Borders and never need a Navy SEAL to come overseas. Stay home. That was like my whole goal. I was like, stay home. The war's in the United States. Nobody realizes the war might be here. And you, beautiful morons, only learned every other person in the world and not America yet. So I was going to consider that solution for myself after I did the VotRite deal with my father. So that was the whole intent, really, and that's the most important part. But life changes. I think it's really important that we focus on today, and we don't judge anybody's experiences because everybody has value, and everybody in this country was misled. Everybody. They were misinformed. We're spreading misinformation. We're with partnerships that we wouldn't have chosen first had we been informed. And you deal the cards you're dealt. But you don't have to deal alone. And if you have people like us, like your teammates that have studied forever to not make the same errors because they love their men or their girls, whatever it be, we have the solution. Why not fund it? It's going to go right back. It's going to circulate through the economy. It's exactly how Angelica Kapsis is. I'll never die with money. I love blowing money on other people. I love how it looks. I think it's going to make a perfect earth when we get into it. And we just have to sort of click with that idea. I think that we've all been sort of run through this muck where now we have an anxiety disorder. We have something to push us into a trend to purchase something different, right? Maybe that's what's going on with our current president. Because we used to love China. Back in the day when I was a kid, I loved the idea of working with the Chinese on technology. I loved it. I thought they were great. I was going to join the FBI when I was a kid, and I was going to convince them to let me integrate Chinese into New York. And I was going to learn Mandarin, and I was going to live here, take care of my mother, because everybody wants to do that if that's the thing you got to do, right? And that was going to be like my safe play. And if the times have changed, where all of a sudden we feel burdened by the Chinese, well, that's different. That's totally different than what it's supposed to be. And I don't think anybody should feel burdened to making a buy. And I don't think anybody should feel that they know who they're going to attack.
Right.
Like some of these German, whatever, like Chinese die. Like just a second ago, your kid was dating the Chinese guy they went to college with. They love one to having babies. Like let's get straight. So the idea is let's fund one another, even if we feel like, oh my God, it's not right, because it's going to circulate back into our environment. It's going to be a perfect deal. And we just got to get back. So I appreciate you letting me throw it all out there. I hope that it was understood enough.
I think what is understood is kindness is infectious, and it can and it can be used in the everyday life. You and I have never had a conversation prior to this show. We did a little like, hey, I'm gonna do a 3, 2, 1 countdown. We're gonna be recording. I told you like, hey, I'm gonna get my wiggles out so I don't, so I feel clear. Yeah, we're all getting our wiggles out before we hit live, and then all of a sudden we're like, here we are doing this conversation, and your politics are yours, mine are mine. You're, though, defending one thing that we both have in common that I know, and that is democracy. Okay? And so here in the US, okay, listen, I have to say, last night my wife and I went out. Okay, I'm just going to get kind of deep here on the divide of a little bit of America, and this is on my take. I went out last night with my wife. We had to fill up with some gas. I went to go prepay inside the gas station because I hate using my card in the machine because of scanners. So I go inside to prepay, and I'm looking around for a drink for the drive home for myself, and I buy everything. I say, hey, give me 60 on number 12, and I go walk, and this guy's in there, and he's like, I'll take a $10 car wash, please. And I was like, oh, cool, this dude wants a $10 car wash in the middle of the desert, no doubt. And then I walk out, and he's got this beautiful Chevy orange 1970s, stick shift truck all decked out with rims, and it's playing mariachi music, and it's kind of loud coming out of his car. And I'm like, the dude in there loves his truck, and he loves the color orange. And let me finish here. Yeah. So I go to my wife, and I'm like, hey, babe, and I put the drink in the car, and I'm like, that dude's truck's awesome. He loves orange, and you know what he bought in there? He just bought a $10 car wash. I was like, he didn't even buy gas. He just wants to go clean his truck. This guy behind me at the pump, I'm on one side of the pump facing north, he's facing south. He's like, if I wanted to hear that music, I would have asked to get in his truck. And I said to the guy, are you talking to me, bro? Like, are you talking to me? This dude's got like this white beard coming down his chin. He's all looking over at me. I was like, what do you mean? The engine, the way it rumbles? Because it was like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what do you mean, his engine? Because he rolled into the car wash. I knew exactly what he was talking about. Okay, mariachi music, okay? And the dude was like, Latin, Hispanic, whatever the case. But when he was in there ordering his car wash, he's like, yo, I'll take a $10 car wash, just like anybody else in this country. So I go outside, and this guy has the balls and the audacity to look over at me while I'm filling up with my fuel and say, if I wanted to hear that music, I would have gotten his truck. And I looked at him, and I was like, oh, you mean the engine? And he's like, no, if I wanted to hear that music, I would have gotten his truck and heard it. I don't want to have to hear it over here at my gas pump. And I just said, well, they're talented musicians. I mean, I ain't got no problem with it. And my wife's hearing me say this to this guy. And then he says to me, he's like, I don't think I should be having to hear it. And he's like, he looks at, I said, I think we live in two different Americas, bro. And then and he looked, and he kind of like glitched. He didn't know what to say.
That's right. You see, the trend has created these involuntary movements that we all have. They call it the Tardite 15. It's a trending, it's giving us anxiety. But what you did, the reason I laughed out loud is because I teach behaviors, and the way that you were informed about the guy's intent, and then you said it to your wife, you're building the perfect type of defense for our democracy. You just uplifted her and gave her an impenetrable argument if somebody were to approach her the way that you were approached. It's a genius idea.
I said, do you think I said that? She's like, I heard it all, Aaron. And I was like, you heard me tell him that I live in a different America than you, bro. Because he's sitting here drinking some Kool-Aid of hate. And all he wanted to do was get me to agree with him at the pump that this guy is like, and I looked at him, and I'm like, bro, you're not going to get that from me, man. This dude, I heard him order the car wash, man. Yeah, that guy probably gets a chance to vote too. So you should that's what I'm saying.
That's right. With friends who built that car. Yeah.
So I wanted to get a little deep in like this division in America, man. You don't approach somebody and just start thinking that they're going to agree on one,
And they don't have to agree. I think that's the biggest dilemma now that we've trained people who weren't exposed. They didn't learn academics. They didn't have to learn how to talk to other people with real consequences like politicians or cops, right? So these people that are now demanding that they're right or that they need you to agree were isolated, and that's how they were informed. So what you did, I think, is perfect, and that's what we have to do in order to get them back. They're not all like that. It's just when I break them down, when I'm teaching a parent how to parent that special needs, and sometimes they're like that because that's what they learn. They're sitting here getting bashed over the head, and they only get like an hour in front of the TV or whatever the kid does, with the other parents. And when you start informing them, they go, oh, I didn't think of it that way. I don't have to freak out at all. I have a choice, and that's the point. We don't have to burden one another at all. The point of democracy is to vote, and we could do that about so many more things than the president. VotRite will do that.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so I just want to say, I did shut him down just like by saying, he knew exactly what I said to him when I said, we're living in a different America, bro. Okay, because like, land of the free, home of the brave. Okay.
Right.
And when he glitched, it was like he realized that he was wrong for what he was even saying. He knew that he was being,
I don't think anybody's ever talked to them that way. You'll see how smooth their rides are. Each one of these aggressive, opinionated people, and they all glitch when they get talked. Like it doesn't happen frequently enough. So good
Thank
job.
you. I just wanted to put that out there. And, again, I never met that guy in my life, and he wanted to have a conversation with me. And my conversation at the end was like, yo, bro, check yourself before you wreck yourself, because you're talking to the wrong guy. And both sides have Second Amendments, by the way. Whatever, three sides, all Americans, it's our God-given right, if that's the way you guys want to look at it in the Constitution. If the Constitution means this is my DNA, then rising up against tyrannical governments is also in our DNA.
Oh yeah, especially when everybody's pitching this bad actor date, and you do believe what's coming out of your mouth, because that is huge. That is a huge hit. That is not I get to go by my day and say whatever I want freely if that sort of thing occurs. If we all of a sudden don't become a democracy, but a democratic republic leading us to a totalitarian or a socialist communist, that's much different from what you all got used to saying and being agreed upon with, So it's important that they keep that in mind. It's not going to be the same if we do not defend it, if you do not go to war, and I do not do the vote. We're not going to vote right.
And you're so right about it's here at home. We have to defend ours, and sometimes the war is at the ballot box, okay? And by, just taking your time, asking your neighbor to take you to the vote if they have to, or reaching out to somebody.
Believing in mobile voting, Tusk Philanthropies, and VotRite, since they have two different ideas that work.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to bring Angelica on the show. I know you guys reached out, but it just made sense to talk about, voting and, people who may not have all of the same advantages that we do every single day to get to go vote. I can get in my car right now, buckle up, I'm healthy at this point. I can go vote. Not everybody gets that chance, but everybody deserves the chance. And so, Angelica, I just want to say it's been a really great conversation to have you on for this last hour talking about VotRite. And can you tell me just a few, how we can find out about VotRite? Is there a .com or go ahead, tell us.
Yes, thank you so much. It was likewise a pleasure. So if ever you want some information, you want to contact me directly, you can see www.votrite.com. If you want to look at the face of our mobile site, it's votritemobile.com. If you remove the E, you'll be taken directly to our voting site. If you like the E, you'll be taken to the educational page. And if you want to reach out to us, it's those emails, my first initial, last name, or info@votrite.com. And we're looking forward to it.
All right, perfect. And you know what? As you start to, launch and have everything start to come into play and everything's going the way it should be, I'd love to have you back on and we can talk about more success and more exposure and just more about Angelica. And I'm sure there's a ton of firefighter stories and a ton of I just chipped the snowflake on the tip of the iceberg with her. Okay. Yes, all right. And already you're super awesome, and would love to have coffee if we ever in the same towns.
Yes. If I ever get over there, I'm going to come reach you. I'm in New York.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think my wife and I might come out to the NYC. And so, it's always nice to see a friend or a familiar face and just say, hey, what's up? Love your town, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, well, on behalf of Brandon Webb, former air rescue, I'm going to probably butcher that. He was a Navy rescue.
Navy
he was he head sniper instructor, master quartermaster. The guy that he believes in me. Okay, he lets me. Thank you. I just want to say thank you, and to Callum and to Guy, the editor at SOFREP, and everybody that's all on the back end that nobody really gets to see, and you just get to see the rock stars on the front. That's me. I'm calling myself a rock star, because all the rock stars behind the scene make that stage and that scene happen, and without them, there's just no show. So big salute to them. Big salute to your people who sent you my way. It's not Angelica. It was, shout out her name. What's their name? Adrian.
Transmedia. That's it. The best
Transmedia.
Media.
What is it?
Tom Madden's daughter, Adrian, is Transmedia Marketing, who is my temporary agent because she's perfect. And that's her that you met.
Well, perfect. Well, Adrian, thank you for being on the show, or thank you for sending Angelica to the show with VotRite. And if you're a donor or you're looking to invest in VotRite, you can reach out to Angelica and see if it's the right fit for you and your organization and your portfolio. So with that said, not a paid sponsor, totally a random, not random guest, but just I think I lost your voice though. Oh yeah, perfect. Well, with that said, I'm going to let you guys go, and this is Rad saying peace.
You've been listening to SOFREP Radio.